Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road, and today we're going to make this really neat, interesting birthday card, and it's a triangle card. And today we're using the Creative Stamping Magazine, the stamp set that came with issue 52. So this is a neat creative way to do something different with a card, so stick around. Before we get started, I just wanted to show you the stamp set a little bit closer that comes with Creative Stamping Magazine. And every issue comes with its own large stamp set. And it's always got sentiments and great stamps, variety, big and small. There's endless possibilities. I started this project actually inspired by one of the pictures I saw in the magazine. So I started with a regular A2 size card that was folded from it's a side folding card, and just cut it diagonally and then put the two triangle pieces aside for later, because I'm definitely going to need to use them later to cover up. Then I used my Tim Holtz stamping platform, and it does have a side. You can turn that if you're not aware. You have one of the clear sides for rubber stamps that are like the red rubber stamps, and one for the clear stamps. So you have to make sure you have it on the right side. And then I'm using Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp this microphone. And this is just an interesting, different kind of birthday card. And I did have to stamp it a few times, but I think it was just because it was the first time I'd used the stamp. And I put then the sentiment, sing a new song. I wanted to put it right there next to the microphone, because what I thought I was going to do was maybe cut it out with like a circle die or a rectangle die or something like that. Well, later it turned out that I didn't end up doing that. I did end up saving this for another project, but I ended up restamping it separate and then fussy cutting them all out. This was really, what you're seeing on the video is really like my thought in process. I really just wasn't sure how I was going to fit it. Wasn't exactly sure if I was going to, there's where I was trying to decide which die I was going to use. And I just wasn't happy with the look that I wanted. I wanted it to come off the card, but I just didn't know how to do it. I have these circle dies from Creekbank Creations and some other stitched rectangle dies that I can't remember where I got them, but I just couldn't think of, it just didn't seem right. So I thought, well, I'm going to end up fussy cutting this out anyway. But I guess that's part of the process. You just kind of start making stuff, and then it's not a waste because I'll use that for another project later. So I found some navy blue cardstock that was nearby, and I cut that into a square and then into a triangle. Pulled out another stamp from the stamp set, and I'm just using a baby wipe to clean off the stamp and the stamp platform. This is like, they're like music notes and music, I don't really know the music terms, but music notes and things like sheet music, and it's sort of swirly. And I thought, well, while I have it on the stamp platform, I didn't even mess up. I just wanted to stamp a few extras just to have on hand, which is sometimes what I do, because then I have like a box of things that I've already stamped, and they're already stamped and fussy cut out or die cut out, and I could just reach for them later. So I think I ended up doing two or three of these little music note swirly things. They're really cute. And I definitely wanted to make sure that that was going to stick off of the page, or off of the triangle card. This is my stitched rectangle die, and here is where I re-stamped just the sentiment by itself. Now I stamped it, or I made sure to cut it out, so that the stamped sentiment was a little bit far off to the right. And I'll show you why later, but I'm using my Spectrum Noir markers to go in with some coloring, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see closer the coloring there. And I'll also put there on the screen closer the actual numbers of the Spectrum Noir markers that I'm using. If you haven't tried the markers before, or you haven't tried alcohol marker coloring before, I really like Spectrum Noir markers to start with because they're available at your big box stores. Sometimes you can pick them up with a coupon. Even if you get them from the link, they're relatively less expensive. But they are an investment regardless because you can buy refills and new nibs. So it's almost like a practice version if you're thinking about getting into Copics or other marker or alcohol marker coloring. And all I do is I usually pick 3 colors and go in with the middle one over most of the area, and then the darkest one around the outer border, and then the lightest one over the entire image. It's really, really easy, but it looks like you spent a long, long time on it. Then this is GB1, and I'm just using it to go over the swirls that are coming outside of the microphone. And then I went in with a Wink of Stella pen. It's like a shimmer pen. It comes out clear. It's hard to see in the video, but it really, really gives a nice, nice shimmer without doing anything to the actual color. And with that same color, I went in, there were some open places in the letters of the sentiment, sing a new song. Oh, not sing a new song, sing your own song, it says. And so I went in with that same color, yellow. And around a few of the flowers as well. But I did have to, I was sitting here thinking, I don't want there to be so much yellow and blue. So I found another, like a dark orange, and did sort of a combination of the yellow and the orange on the flowers. Plus, this is a card for a man, and I don't know. Even though it was a birthday card, I wasn't trying to make it a real flowery card. And then more blending with some of the GB1. Then I went in with the TB1 marker and went around the swirls. That was fun. I liked the way that looked. As a matter of fact, I almost wanted to do everything that even was remotely swirly with that same technique, but I didn't want to do overkill. So I found a Distress Oxide ink in the same color and just went around the outsides of the sentiment and around the outsides of the microphone. But I just liked the way that color looked. And then I went back over with the Wink of Stella over all the little images, the little flowers, the little notes, because I like the way that looked too. So now I was going in and trying to fit these pieces together, and I really, really wanted them to stick off of the card. But I didn't want it to be flat in some areas and then not in others. So I'm using the Wendy Vecchi Perfect Card Adhesive, and I just put a little bit of it into just a different bottle and started with the pieces that I wanted flat. That card adhesive is really good. I tend to sit and forget that I have a bottle open though on my table, and I certainly didn't want, if I was going to accidentally let a product dry out, I didn't want to let the entire thing dry out. So then I ended up using some Zots adhesive dots for the actual microphone. And sometimes I just don't have a rhyme or reason, and sometimes I do. This was just a time where I felt like using the Zots on part of it and the other adhesive on the other. And then I used some foam pieces, some fun foam pieces, to just lift up the music note part just a little bit. And they were just scraps. But again, it's only adhesive on one side, so I knew I was going to have to add adhesive to the other side. But that's okay because those adhesives are both really strong. They work really well. It's just kind of whatever you feel like. My issue was I didn't want to put adhesive where I knew the piece was going to be hanging off the back. So I used the Wendy Vecchi Perfect Card adhesive there, and once I put it down, then what I actually did was I ended up leaving it to sit for a little bit under like a heavy object. Oh, I guess after I went in with a little gold pen. And I was just highlighting some of the areas of the flowers that sort of disappeared once I had colored in a little bit. You can see there's a nice close-up. So I'm going to work to cover this up back here. First I was drawing some little dots on there just for decoration, but that back part of that card was bothering me. So I took that triangle that I had removed earlier from the very first step and just traced around it with a white gel pen. I knew there were going to be a few steps to the inside of the card, so I wanted to make sure that I covered up that back side first. And I just fussy cut around my trace line, and I wasn't really too concerned about the seam that was going to be there on the inside because I knew I was going to be covering up with more things like the sentiment, and I knew I wanted to add a navy blue triangle on the inside. So see how that line is right there, how it's just a little piece? That's not going to matter. I think in hindsight, I probably would have made covered the whole inside with a whole triangle instead of maybe tracing it somehow, or maybe started with a bigger piece, but this worked fine. So I just made sure that it fit pretty closely. Later, I did go in with some Oxide ink and ink the edges. I definitely made sure to use that Wendy Vecchi adhesive, that Perfect Card adhesive. The one thing I like about that adhesive actually is it doesn't buckle your paper or your cardstock. Then I'm going in with some Memento Tuxedo black ink and just stamping Happy Birthday 3 times. And then I use my stitch rectangle die to cut out the sentiment. And then I found a navy blue triangle. And I wanted to do that on the inside because I wanted it to match the outside as well. So I had to trim it down a little bit, but that was okay. A lot of this project seemed to be just eyeballing and just trying out to see what was going to work well. And I have a lot of different kinds of adhesives, like I was saying. I wanted to use a combination here of the Perfect Card adhesive and the Scotch ATG gun because I really, really wanted that to hold. And sometimes with the metallic cardstock, it doesn't hold quite as well as the regular like matte cardstock. And then I just used the Scotch ATG gun to put that flat. That looked really nice to me. And then I used a Stampin' Up pad. I practiced it off to the side a bunch of times, and I even tried to use Distress ink ahead of time, but I like the Stampin' Up better. And here's a close-up of just how easy it is. You just go just 1, 2, 3, just right down there. So here is a close-up of the inside and the outside. I really like this card. It was nice. And I always stamp my work. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Sandpaper Road on YouTube. And don't forget to click the bell to receive notifications. And, oh, I forgot, this card is probably going to fit right inside this envelope, the same envelope, because we started with an A2 size card. So check the description box for links to all the products used in this video and links to social media. Thanks for subscribing. Bye-bye.